I relocated my business, SpeedCubeShop, from Bakersfield, California, all the way to Las Vegas, Nevada. This is that story. So this whole idea sort of formed way back in like 2017, 2018. I had some family living in Las Vegas and would come up here like every once in a while to visit, but I never really ever thought that I would actually be living here, let alone moving SpeedCubeShop along the way. As kind of the years went on, more and more of my family started moving here to Las Vegas, and a lot of Veronica's family is also now talking about moving here to Las Vegas. So with all that kind of becoming a thing, I sort of thought to myself, well, maybe I should move out here as well. It was a nice thought to tell myself that, yeah, I'll move out there, and that way we can all sort of be in the same city and, you know, be in a little bit more of like a happening town, because Bakersfield is great. You know, it's pretty much my home and I grew up there for majority of my life. It's an awesome city for what it is, but I will say that the opportunities over in Bakersfield and just the overall feel are so much different than Las Vegas. And I started coming out to Vegas more and more like regularly. So the point is that I started finding my way out in this area a lot more, whether it be for family, for friends, or for even like the racing and drifting that some of you guys may know I do is like my main hobby outside of cubing and SpeedCubeShop. And conveniently, there's a racetrack like 5 miles that way, so just saying. So with that all being said, I finally decided that, okay, this is the year that I'm going to do this. Our office lease was coming to an end over in Bakersfield, and I just kind of thought to myself that, all right, well, maybe it's the time that I actually just go ahead and I'll open up a location in Vegas, and I'll keep the Bakersfield one going, and I'll have both of them for a little while, and yeah, that'll kind of be how it is. Because the cool thing about the Bakersfield location is that we had a good amount of people that would like regularly come in and visit us from like the LA area and stuff like that. And I didn't really ever think that I would actually like want to move myself personally to Vegas because it's so much work, right? Now, one building kept popping up in the search results. That was the one that we happen to be in now. Now, the funny thing is this building had been available for like 90 days, which for real estate here in Vegas is a very long time. So my original agent had told me that the space was not available, and I took that as like, okay, well, it must be an old listing, and I didn't really pay it much regard. But every morning I would keep looking for spaces, and I was getting more and more just excited / desperate, because the way I am is when I decide I'm going to do something, it's like just full speed ahead, and I don't want any obstacles, and I'm just like a steamroller that just goes and just does it. So when I decided that, okay, I like Vegas and I want to have a warehouse here, I just decided that I need to make it happen. So I was sitting there and just was like, you know what? I'm gonna ask one more time if the space is available, because it's been enough time at this point to where like it's a very outdated listing if it truly is not available. So I asked my agent and they tell me the same thing, it's not available. I start looking at other spaces, and like there were a few deals, right, that seemed like they were really good, but then you go and check them out and they're not really so good. And by just a complete coincidence, I ended up getting in touch with another agent here in Vegas, and we were talking about how, oh, I'm already working with someone, but if like you find something that they don't offer me or whatever, we can talk about it. And long story short, they mentioned this space. And I said to them, well, I was told that it's not available. And they're like, oh, it's available. Like, I can take you there today if you want to check it out. So I'm a very like loyal person, and I don't like to waste people's time. So I decided that it would only be fair if I go to my original agent and let them have the opportunity to tell me if it's still available or not. So go to my original agent and I say, okay, can you check one more time? Is this space available? Nope. Already checked, not available. Okay, I can sleep well at night now knowing that I gave you 3 opportunities to tell me this space is available, and I have this person over here saying they will show me there today. So next thing you know, a few hours later, I am in this building walking around, and sure enough, it's vacant. Things happen, and I almost lost out on this space too, because that's the problem with a bigger city like this that I'm not really used to, is when you're like a super small company and you're just being outbid by these like massive trade show companies and all these kinds of businesses, which makes it hard to find space sometimes. So anyway, I leased the space, and from that point on, it just was like, again, go time. I start ordering just tons of supplies. You know, I'm like, this is gonna be like my dream warehouse, because every warehouse up until this point has been, I've been moving from one space to another, and it's kind of rushed, and I just have to use what I have. And yeah, over the years, stuff gets kind of like broken or, you know, not really as great a condition. And so this was an expensive but satisfying endeavor to kind of like, I don't want to call it OCD, because I think it's just like very particular nature that I have. It's where I just want things to be like perfect. So I guess you'd call me like a perfectionist maybe. My good friend CubeShop Hero lives here in Vegas, so he was kind enough to, you know, come down and keep me company, and he actually assembled just about every single rack that we have in this building, so major props to him. Pretty much got this location up and running and had it running alongside Bakersfield, and that was all great. Things started to change with just staffing situation, and mostly it was availability. So ironically, after I've had both locations running for a while, my Bakersfield staff was so impressed with how much more efficient our operation was here, because they could see like how many orders are shipping out of this location versus their location. They actually were pretty much like all on board, like, hey, I want to come to Vegas and I'll just work there and it sounds great. And so I was super excited because I really liked my staff, and I'm like, great, we're gonna all just be in Vegas, one big happy family, let's do it. The issue was the Bakersfield warehouse. So I initially had an offer to take over the Bakersfield lease. So I'm like, oh, perfect. That just fell into my lap, and pieces of the puzzle are just kind of falling into place, and this is gonna be perfect. Well, it literally came down to the point where I received a call saying, hey, this company is interested in subleasing your location in Bakersfield, but there's one catch. What's the catch? The catch was that we had like, I think it was 2 days or 3 days to be out of the space to have it be ready by like Monday for them to occupy it. So I'm like, oh, well, majority of our stuff was still in Bakersfield, and Vegas was kind of like a skeleton operation. So that was like pretty much picked up the phone, called my supervisor down in Bakersfield, and just was like, hey, you know, you guys still want to move to Vegas? Because that might be happening a little bit sooner than what we thought. So next thing you know, everyone's like, yeah, I'm down to go. And they start packing up the whole warehouse. So one of my other staff, Justin, we hop in my car and we're driving down to Bakersfield to help them pack up and just start the whole mission of moving stuff all back to here. And I'm calling throughout the drive, and I'm just like, hey, you know, how are things going? They're like, oh man, things are going perfect. Like, you're gonna be so happy when you get here, and we're gonna have it pretty much done by the time you get here. I'm like, wow, like that's cool. Like, I mean, that was a pleasant surprise. I pull up with Justin. I just remember pulling into the parking lot, and it is like chaos. There are boxes everywhere, there's people everywhere, there's cars everywhere, there's trucks everywhere. Like, it is just a mess. It just fell apart, I guess, and they maybe overestimated how it was going because they were packing up like stuff that we didn't really have as much stock of. Then they hit the items that were like better sellers that we had more stock of, and it started taking a lot longer to pack up. So we pretty much spent the whole night until like 3 in the morning packing up U-Haul trucks. We have one truck loaded up, right? And my ingenious idea was that I told all the staff, I want you, like, if this is the truck, right, where it's like a rectangle, load in the racks, like going across, so that pretty much we put as many racks in going horizontally, so that way they don't really shift inside the truck. And we can just put boxes of moving stuff onto the racks, stack up high, we don't have to take apart the racks, and that way it can all be together. Cool, yeah, it made sense. Well, one of the trucks, I guess, that was loaded either early in the process when they didn't know, or late in the process when they were getting tired, did not follow that format. And so I will never forget, we were outside and one of the trucks pulled out of the parking lot to go onto the street to create more space. If you've ever been to the Bakersfield office, you would know that there's a pretty steep driveway to get in and out. And when the truck went down the driveway, we just heard like a thud, and pretty much they had not put enough racks going across. So they shifted, and like it was like dominoes, all the racks just fell. And they snapped and broke, and fortunately everything that was on the racks was okay, but we had like just stuff all over the place. And it was just like literally you opened up the backs of the truck and it was just stuff everywhere, like office stuff, furniture, like just desk stuff, cubes, like everything you can think of. So that was hours of fixing that up. And then the next morning we pretty much had the bare essentials and trucked it all the way up to Vegas and unloaded it. And if you guys follow us on Instagram at SpeedCubeShop Official, you would see the picture I posted where, again, even more chaos, because when we got there, the movers that we had hired to help us unload the truck did not show up. So it was pretty much like a handful of us that drove the trucks up there to unload this whole thing and be operational by Monday. So it was a pretty stressful situation, and I have to give everyone credit that all of the staff that helped move it, like even though it wasn't really an ideal situation, we turned it into kind of as fun as it can be. And I will say that now that everything is all set up, from like painting, that was a fiasco because I found out that the people who are good painters aren't really good painters, and we're making a mess. And then we bought a spray gun and that thing would clog up and not work, and we were burning through paint, and it just was like way too much going on. But it's all part of the growing experience, I guess. And we're here now, and you know, it's a few months later and things are running smoother than ever, which I'm happy to say. Everything is very organized, which satisfies me a great deal. I'm glad that I did it. I've been really loving, you know, the Vegas culture and just having like more stuff to do around here. You know, it's fun for me to go racing, and honestly, I've been meeting a lot more of you guys because a lot of people fly into Vegas to visit, and so you guys have been coming by and visiting, which has been super cool, whereas Bakersfield isn't exactly a tourist destination for most people, so I would get lucky and have people maybe like pass by on the way to LA or something. But anyway, I have so many spin-off stories about this move I can get into, but I think that just about covers it. Let me know if you guys want to hear more stories about specific parts of the move. And yeah, thank you again to all of you who have continued to support SpeedCubeShop. It's just so weird how life happens. If you had asked me when I was 13 years old starting this business if I would be running it at age 27 and if I would be running it in Las Vegas, no matter, like it's just absolutely crazy, and it's a huge blessing, and I love every day of it, even though there's definitely lots of issues that come along with it. You know, it's all part of the learning experience, and hey, problems are the opportunity to learn and improve. So again, thank you all so much for the support. I hope that you can all come by and visit the location someday. We're going to be announcing our fall open event very soon, so be sure to follow us on social media if you aren't already to get updates about that, and hopefully you can come out and visit. Thanks you all again for watching. See you later.